Coming up on Retiring Well with Michael Reese.
All I'm trying to share with you is you need to know what your safe options are. You need to know where you can get decent interest rates on your money. CDs, paying pretty much nothing these days. Floating rate options, they're paying a little bit better. Educate yourself, learn about these things. Well, think about what happens when you leave your surviving spouse a big IRA. You have just left an account that where every distribution is taxable, big old taxable liability in essence, to someone who is going to become a single taxpayer, someone whose tax rates are going to go through the roof. That's a great idea. Let's leave a big old taxable account to someone who's going to suddenly pay a bunch of taxes. Good job. No, leave her life insurance. It's tax-free. Way better deal.
Now, the host of Retiring Well, Michael Reese.
Welcome to the show today. We have 30 minutes of action-packed information specifically designed for you. Retiring Well starts right here, right now.
Retiring Well with Michael Reese, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well with Michael Reese, where we believe your best is yet to come.
Hi, this week in CFP Talk, we are looking at the difference between CDs and things called floating rate instruments. Now, the reason we're looking at this is, as you know, interest rates are really, really low. In a very low interest rate environment, things like CDs, traditional options for your safe money, they're just not paying what they used to pay. And that has a real negative effect on, how your money works for you. We want to make sure that every part of your portfolio is working as hard as possible for your retirement. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening with CDs in today's environment. Now, as I'm recording this, I went on bankrate.com, and they told me that national average, or maybe even it's the best CDs out there, I'm not 100% certain with Bankrate sometimes, but generally speaking, they're saying a 5-year CD is paying right around 1.5% a year. Now, what does that really mean to you? What does that mean? Well, here's what it means. Let's imagine that you put $100,000 of your savings into a 5-year CD at 1.5%. What that means is every year they're going to pay you $1,500 of interest. So $1,500 is credited to your account. If we do some simple math and ignoring compounding over 5 years, it's not a major issue. But $1,500 a year, you get it for 5 years. They're essentially saying, you let us use your $100,000 for the next 5 years, and at the end of the 5 years, we'll give you back maybe $7,500. Now, for a lot of you, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, gosh darn it, it seems all right, but on $100,000 over 5 years, why would I tie my money up for that? I mean, it just doesn't seem to make sense. So how can we do better? What can you do to improve on these numbers? Well, I want to introduce you to something called floating rate instruments. These are normally issued by insurance companies. You could go to an insurance company, get a floating rate, they would call it an annuity, and for 5 years they would tell you, we will pay you not 1.5% a year, we'll pay you 2% a year. Well, that's not very exciting. It's not very, wow, that's super awesome or anything like that. But then they have a little twist. And what they do is, we'll pay you that 2% plus something called LIBOR. LIBOR. That is basically international lending rates. Now, what that means is this. If LIBOR today, as I'm recording this, is about 0.8%. So that means in the first year, these types of instruments, they would pay you 2 plus 0.8. They're going to pay you 2.8% in the first year. What do they do next year? They say, well, we're going to pay you the 2 again, plus whatever LIBOR is next year. So here's the thing. Let's imagine you think interest rates are going to rise. If interest rates rise, that guy rises. That number gets bigger, which means this number gets bigger each year over those 5 years. For the sake of illustration, let's imagine that on average, you get about 3 over the 5-year period. Let's imagine that. Well, on 100,000, the same 100,000, that leads to $3,000 every year. And over 5 years, that leads to $15,000 total. Now, are interest rate movements in the future guaranteed? Of course not. That number could go higher, it could go lower. Hey, are you going to get 2%? You know, it's 2% today when I'm recording this, but those numbers change. It might be higher or lower in the future. All I'm trying to share with you is you need to know what your safe options are. You need to know where you can get decent interest rates on your money. CDs, paying pretty much nothing these days. Floating rate options, they're paying a little bit better. Educate yourself, learn about these things. Folks, if you have any questions about this or anything else we talk about in the show, please feel free to give us a call. The number's right there on the screen.
Remember when life was simpler? When things didn't move quite so fast and the world didn't seem so complex? Remember that? We do. And as the world around us has continued to speed up, becoming more complicated and still a bit uncertain, we have managed to keep things simple, providing sound, easy to understand financial advice and customized roadmaps for the road ahead. From tax reduction strategies, investment advice, and guaranteed retirement income you cannot outlive, backed by the claims-paying ability of insurance companies, we can be your single point of contact, a single call, a voice you recognize well, and a partner who can be by your side for the entire journey. We can't stop the world around us, but we can help ensure you're prepared for what's to come. For a complimentary consultation, simply contact us today.
Hi, I'm Michael Reese, and I'd like to invite you and a guest to a complimentary evening of food, fun, and information at our next upcoming financial event. At this event, we're going to talk about topics that affect your money and your retirement planning. Topics include the 3 critical steps that you absolutely need to take to enjoy a secure retirement. We take a look at volatility versus returns. Which is more important for you and your money? Taxes. Nobody likes them, but what are you doing about your biggest tax liability? We're going to talk about these topics and much more. I want you just to call the number on the screen, bring you and a guest. We're going to have a great time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Remember, you only want to retire once. Let's make sure you do it right. All right, this week in our segment of Ask Banks, we actually have a question that came in from one of the viewers here, and it's from, I remember her name was Sherry. She was asking the following question. She was saying, hey, Banks, hey, Banks. Yeah, well, Banks pays attention to Sherry about as well as me, as you can see. Anyway, Sherry was asking the question. She said that she'd been watching the show, and on this show we talk about converting to Roth IRA because we love Roth IRAs. They're tax-free, right, Banks? Tax-free, we love that. Oh yeah, those are good things. And we talk about you want to convert or have a plan to convert IRAs to Roth IRAs if it makes sense for your planning. So Sherry wrote in. She said and you can, if you have a question, you can ask Banks. I think it's askbanks at retiringwell.com, I believe. Anyway, she asked a question. She said, "Hey, Banks, she's in a 401k now," and she said, "I'm in a 401k." And she was watching the show about converting to Roth IRAs. She's still working, can she convert her 401k to a Roth IRA even though she's still working? And that's a really good question. Banks, what do you think about that? You want to answer Sherry for us? Banks looks like she's doing about the same thing she normally does, which is just lays around and looks good. Okay, good. Banks. So anyway, when it comes to, oh my gosh, look at this. What a ham. When it comes to your 401k, Sherry, here is something kind of interesting. If your 401k has a Roth option, so some 401ks, in fact, a lot of 401ks have the ability to have a Roth option inside of your account. If your 401k, if your company provides one that has that Roth option, you can, right, Banks? I know you're excited about this. You can convert within your 401k the dollars that are any portion or the whole amount, dollars that are in the traditional account, you can convert to the Roth side. Now, you will pay tax, of course, in the amount that you convert. So if you have, $100,000 that you convert, you're going to pay tax on $100,000 of income. So remember that. Now, one thing that is different with Roth conversions inside of a 401k is that a Roth conversion inside of a 401k, you cannot change your mind. So with a regular IRA, if you go IRA to Roth IRA, you have a period of time where you can change your mind and go back, but not inside of the 401k structure. You make that change in the 401k, it is done. You cannot change your mind after that. So it's irrevocable is the term. Now the other thing you can think about, Sherry, is you said you're still working. If this is the 401k that you're at a job you're at, your options may be limited. What you might need to do, if you're over the age of 59 and a half, you might be able to do an in-service rollover, and that just means you can take money, even though you're still working, from your 401k and move it over to your IRA. And wow, that's cool. Now, poor Banks, I've lost her here. But anyway, you can go from 401k to IRA, and when that happens, you can then do the typical Roth conversion process. But what if you're still working, you're under the age of 59 and a half? See, I don't know your circumstances, but if you are too young, then you're kind of stuck. You kind of have to wait until you either A, get a new job and move away from that company, or B, hit the age of 59 and a half. Now, you didn't say this, but if that 401k is, say, from an old job or something where you don't work there anymore, well, then it's easy. Then you just go from 401k to IRA, and off you go. You can do all kinds of cool stuff there. Unfortunately, I didn't have a quick answer, and Banks didn't have a quick answer for you. But what it comes down to is simply this. If you can do something, that's great. I always encourage you, talk to a professional before you take any action. Talk to someone. Look, call our office, Sherry. Well, we're happy to sit down with you and help you analyze what you're doing there to make sure you're making smart choices. And, folks, for all of you watching the show, if you have questions about Roth conversions and 401ks and IRAs, I want you to call us. Give us a call. We are here to answer your questions. One of the biggest mistakes we see people making all the time when they come to our office is they don't have a clearly defined retirement plan. And the reason's pretty simple. It's pretty rare that someone like yourself has the opportunity to sit down with an independent financial advisor who truly specializes in retirement planning. Someone that makes sure that you can get through retirement safely and securely. Well, if you don't have a clearly defined retirement plan and you want one, well, all you have to do is give us a call. We have a special offer for the first 5 people that call. As long as you have at least $250,000 saved for your retirement, we will provide for you, free of charge, no obligation, a complete retirement review. In this review, we're going to help you take a look at your investments and the risk you're taking, the fees you pay in your portfolio, maybe even some tax planning will help you have an integrated, clearly defined retirement plan. Free, no obligation, be one of the first 5 callers. Make sure you call now. We'll see you when you stop in. All right, folks, this week I want to ask you the question, is your IRA, 401k, 403b, etc., are those traditional retirement accounts, are they really good accounts for retirement, or are they maybe some of the worst accounts you can have for retirement? Well, it kind of depends how you look at things, I guess. But what I want to share with you are from a tax perspective. I'm going to share with you 4 reasons. 4 reasons that your IRA, your 401k, 403b, etc., are actually the worst accounts you can have as a retiree. All right? 4 reasons. Ready? Here we go. Reason number 1. Reason number 1, every time you pull money out of that IRA, you know this, you pay tax. What rate do you pay tax at? Your effective rate? No. You pay tax at whatever your highest marginal rate is. So whatever your rate is, whatever your if you're in the 15% tax bracket, every dollar comes out at 15. If you're at 25, every dollar comes out at 25. Whatever your highest tax bracket is, that's the tax you pay as the money comes out. Okay, reason number 2. Reason number 2 is simply this. I call it double taxation. Now, what do I mean? When you pull money out of your IRA, that goes on the front page of your tax return rather, as an entry. It's an income entry on that return. As a result, it affects, in many cases, the amount of tax you pay on your Social Security. So what happens is, here's the net effect. Not only do you pay tax on the money that comes out of your IRA, that same distribution in many cases forces you to pay more tax on your Social Security than you otherwise would have to pay. So you're hit twice with taxes on the same distribution. All right, let's go to number 3. Do you know that your retirement plan, IRA, 401k, 403b, etc., do you know that that is the only type of account, that forces you to pull money out once you hit the age of 70 and a half? You've got to pull money out every year, even if you don't want to. If you want to pull it or not, doesn't matter. You're forced to pull a certain amount out every single year, starting at age 70 and a half, the year in which you turn 70 and a half, and then every year thereafter for the rest of your life, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger every single year. It's very annoying to people who are in that time of their lives, I can promise you that. And let's go to reason number 4. Guys, I know that you're thinking, in the back of your mind anyway, you're thinking, you're probably going to die before your wife does, right? You probably are. And I know that you want to make sure that she is financially secure for the rest of her life. So if your wife lives longer than you want her to be secure. My wife, Becky, she's 6 years younger than me, 7 years younger than me, depending on the date. But she's a few years younger. I'm probably going to go first. Well, I don't want to leave her destitute. I want to make sure she's in good shape. Well, think about this. Let's imagine you have a big IRA or 401k. You got $500,000, $1 million in one of these things, and you're thinking, she's going to be set. Well, think about what happens when you leave your surviving spouse a big IRA. You have just left an account that where every distribution is taxable, big old taxable liability in essence, to someone who is going to become a single taxpayer, someone whose tax rates are going to go through the roof. That's a great idea. Let's leave a big old taxable account to someone who's going to suddenly pay a bunch of taxes. Good job. No, leave her life insurance. It's tax-free, way better deal. So here you go. 4 reasons that from a tax perspective, IRAs and their kin are not so great, right? Remember what they were. Every distribution is taxable. It double taxed a lot of times because it affects Social Security, only account you're forced to pull money out of, and really worst type of account you can leave to a surviving spouse. All right. What should you do? I want you to think about Roth conversions. They could be really helpful. Now, if you have any questions about what we talked about here, I want you to just pick up the phone, call us. We'd love to help you out. One of the biggest mistakes we see people making all the time when they come to our office is they don't have a clearly defined retirement plan. And the reason's pretty simple. It's pretty rare that someone like yourself has the opportunity to sit down with an independent financial advisor who truly specializes in retirement planning. Someone that makes sure that you can get through retirement safely and securely. Well, if you don't have a clearly defined retirement plan and you want one, well, all you have to do is give us a call. We have a special offer for the first 5 people that call. As long as you have at least $250,000 saved for your retirement, we will provide for you, free of charge, no obligation, a complete retirement review. In this review, we're going to help you take a look at your investments and the risk you're taking, the fees you pay in your portfolio, maybe even some tax planning will help you have an integrated, clearly defined retirement plan. Free, no obligation, be one of the first 5 callers. Make sure you call now. We'll see you when you stop in.
It's your retirement. How will you live it? How will you be remembered?
Will you be able to take me on vacation?
Will you be there for my ball games?
Will you teach me your values? You'll be able to play with me.
Oh, help me go to college. How will I remember you?
Have the retirement you dream about. Contact us today.
Hi, I'm Michael Reese, and I'd like to invite you and a guest to a complimentary evening of food, fun, and information at our next upcoming financial event. At this event, we're going to talk about topics that affect your money and your retirement planning. Topics include the 3 critical steps that you absolutely need to take to enjoy a secure retirement. We take a look at volatility versus returns. Which is more important for you and your money? Taxes. Nobody likes them, but what are you doing about your biggest tax liability? We're going to talk about these topics and much more. I want you just to call the number on the screen, bring you and a guest. We're going to have a great time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Remember, you only want to retire once. Let's make sure you do it right.
Welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with Mike. My name's James Curry. I'm one of the financial advisors here at Centennial Wealth Advisory. We've got some great questions for you this week, Mike, from viewers. Are you ready?
I'm ready for it. Let's
right.
line them up.
First one we have is from Carolyn in Georgetown. She writes, I'm retiring in a few weeks, and I'm thinking of cashing out my old life insurance policies. My house is paid off, the kids are gone, and I don't see any need for coverage anymore. Is there anything I'm missing here?
Wow. Is that a question we get all the time or what?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's common, I think, out there. The whole mindset has traditionally been, well, I get life insurance when I'm younger, because maybe I've got a mortgage to pay off and I want to take care of that if I die, or maybe I have children that I want to make sure that they're financially okay. But you get to the point of retirement and you're thinking, well, I don't have that anymore, but I've got enough money. Right? I don't need the death benefit really anymore. Why am I still paying premiums? Why not just get rid of this stuff, right? So that's a common question. And what I would tell you, Carolyn, I would tell Carolyn, and by the way, any of you who are watching this, I'm going to tell you the exact same thing. When it comes to retirement, I mean, you just have to recognize that life insurance might be one of the best assets you have. I mean, when we talk to people, I can think of several reasons why you want to have life insurance in retirement. So, first of all, think about it this way. If you're married and you have retirement plans, what do we know about those IRAs, James?
They're a big tax liability, the biggest for most of our clients.
Huge tax liabilities, right? So if let's say a husband dies and leaves a big IRA to his wife, that's a huge taxable account. But if he also has life insurance, what can he do? He can use that money to maybe pay for a Roth conversion, and next thing you know, that big taxable account is a big tax-free account. That's a lot better, right? And the other thing it does is just provide options. We have a lot of people these days where they're in second marriages or third marriages or fourth marriages. and the thing is that if they have life insurance, a lot of times you have his kids, her kids, their kids. Life insurance makes it easier to kind of spread out the assets after someone dies. If you think about it this way, if you are a life insurance company, you want people cashing out those policies when they retire, because all you have to do as a company is pay out the cash value. Of course, what don't you want them to do? You don't want them to hold it all the way till you die, because then you got to pay out the big death benefit. So, folks, think about it. The life insurance company's not on your side here. They want you to cash it out. Don't do that. Get the full value of that death benefit. Hang on to that life insurance, and I know your beneficiaries will be glad you did.
We have our next question is from Frank in San Marcos. He writes, I keep hearing people talk about how IRAs are tax time bombs. What are they talking about?
Wow, we just talked a little bit about that, didn't we? They are, I'll tell you, the thing that happens, and you know this because you hear me, this is one of my, get on a pulpit and preach about topics, right? These IRAs are fantastic tools. And by the way, 401k, 403b, they all fall in the same category, of course. Fantastic tools while you're working. You get to put the money in, tax deductible, money grows tax deferred, but when do you pay all the taxes?
When you take it out.
Yeah, right there at the end, right? And usually when you're retired, or when you're in your 70s and you don't have a choice. If you take a look at these huge assets, I mean, if you have $1 million in an IRA, that's $1 million that you're going to pay income tax on at some point. That's a huge tax liability. And it's a bomb because the minute you're 70 and 70 and a half, you got to start paying those taxes whether you want to or not. And you pay more and more and more and more every single year. Then you die, you leave money to your beneficiaries, and then they pay a bunch of taxes. It is a nightmare. IRS works out really well for them. What about you and me, though? Not so great. So you really want to pay attention to the taxes in those IRAs. You want to have a plan. You want to have a plan to help manage the taxation on those IRAs over your retirement years.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. That was some great information this week. And for anyone watching, please feel free to call the office or visit the website, and we can answer your questions next week.
Thanks, everyone, for watching the show today. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to call our office or visit our website. And remember, you only retire once, so let's get it right the first time. We'll see you next week.